stop talking because what I want to do at this point is bring down a student who has, over these years of being here as a student at ABU and continues now in our master's degree program, has had transformational life because of his spiritual formation here and his relationship with the Lord. So at this time, I'm going to invite Chris to come down, and he's going to share his testimony with us this morning.
All right. Like you mentioned, my name is Chris Tule. I want to start with prayer, if I don't mind. So let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, just want to thank you for allowing everyone here to get here safely. I want to thank you for another year of life, and just ask for you to give me the clarity to at least, even if it's just one person, to reach somebody today. In your name I pray, amen. Like I said, my name is Christopher Tule. I'm the son of the most amazing, resilient mother who is with us over here in the back. I'm also the brother of two sisters who used to look up to me. Now I kind of look up to them because they are now taller than me. I marvel at them. They're just amazing. I'm also now, and have been for a while, a follower of Jesus, a believer. But I haven't always been. Most of my life, my identity, kind of the thing that shaped me, was that of being a soccer player. That's kind of who I was, what I was. That's what I allowed to kind of transform my life. What I'm sharing today is that it doesn't matter how good something is. It doesn't matter how much you immerse yourself into something. If it's not Jesus, it's not enough. So to kind of talk about that, I'm going to talk about soccer a little bit. Amazing sport. Like other sports, the main objective is to win. That's what we're all here for. We want to win, whether it's a game, a tournament, a ring. And it's a 90-minute game with no rest except for 15 minutes in the middle. So for 45 minutes, you're running what could be 100-yard sprints, and then someone loses the ball and you got to go back another 100 yards. I'm not exaggerating. And you just do that nonstop. It's brutal, but it's fun. Obviously, I've done it for almost all my life. But through it, you kind of learn a lot of different things, resilience, leadership. Most importantly, running sucks. But like I mentioned, it shaped a lot of my life. It's a beautiful sport. Sometimes it's just a 5-yard pass from like here to here. You just stick your foot out. Sometimes the ball can be all the way up to the ceiling, and you got to bring it down one touch where it lands like a football catch. It's brutal, like I said, but it's beautiful. I mean, when you see that ball just glide across the grass, or if you're lucky enough to have been able to score 20 yards out, 30 yards out, it fills you with this adrenaline that's kind of like a drug, and you just grind it out and work out again and again just to get that feeling as many times as possible. But sometimes it's not necessarily the goal that fills you with that drive. Sometimes it's the defense. It's, that rugged toughness of chasing down the forward, clearing him out, and getting up like a gladiator in a coliseum. Like I mentioned, it's beautiful. But like I said, it's not enough. The only real thing that's going to fill any void you have in your heart is Jesus. And a verse that perfectly kind of encaptures that, if that kind of makes sense, is one that I have for you today. 1 second. So today we're starting off in John chapter 10, verse 10. It reads, "The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly." So what Jesus is telling us here basically is that if you entrust yourself in him, life still sucks. You still have the people that want to steal, that want to destroy, but through him, you'll have more abundance in life. It's crazy how much he starts to work through you once you let him in. It's amazing. And to kind of give y'all context, like I said, I wasn't always a follower of Jesus. I grew up in a family where religion was kind of the foothold of everything we did. But what kind of kept me away from him was this bitterness towards God, just because my childhood wasn't the best. I wish I was here telling you all about this amazing childhood with an amazing father and mom. But what I'm not able to speak to that. What I am able to speak to is an amazing mom, but an alcoholic father that would beat my mom when he thought I wasn't looking. So instead of this amazing father that taught me everything I knew in soccer, I had someone who traumatized me and my mom and my sisters in ways that no one should really be, just going through things you shouldn't really have to go through at that age, if that kind of makes sense. So instead of having that father to pass me the ball to train me, all I had was this broken down fence so that I could have something to bounce the ball back off. Instead of having a father to turn to when I was confused, when I was alone, I honestly found myself alone a lot of times, because as much as my mother gave everything she had, I mean, most of us that have both mom and dad, they both bring different things to the table. So like I mentioned, all that trauma kind of just, I carried it with me. And a lot of us here are good at what I've always been good at, holding things in, putting on a mask, acting okay. And so I did that all throughout my life. And so, like I mentioned, haven't always been a follower of Jesus. The furthest I've been from Jesus was probably the start of high school. Going into my freshman year of high school, I was kind of that cocky jock that no one really would want to be around, just because I had let the idea of popularity kind of just drive me. I had all these friends that surrounded me because of what I've done through soccer up until that point. What I quickly realized is those friends that are around you because of whatever reason aren't really your friends. And I realized that when my dad tried reaching out for the first time since I was 7 my freshman year, and at the same time I'm going through this ridiculously abusive relationship with an individual that just, caused so much anxiety, PTSD. And then on top of that, you have all these family issues, just division in family that just destroys you. And so when I reached out for people, no one was there. And what I did turn to was soccer. And for a while, that brought me a lot of joy, a lot of resolve, because when you're good at something and you do it well, obviously it gives you satisfaction. And so I moved to a different school my sophomore year. That brought a little bit of peace. Not everyone knew who I was, which brought a little bit of a quietness. Every team I played for that year, I did well in. So again, I thought soccer was just it for me. I was turning to it. I was training every day, before dinner, after dinner, at dark. Can ask my mom the amount of time she would scream at me to get back inside when it was dark. But yeah, and so I trained, and I was doing well. So I thought, all right, soccer's it. That's all I have. That's all I'm turning to. Forget everything else. Forget anyone else. But like I said, and like I keep saying, if it's not Jesus, it's not going to do the job. So like I mentioned, coming into my junior year, for those of us that kind of can relate what I'm talking about, when you're good at holding things in, when you're good at kind of just acting like you're okay, it catches up to you every time. And the more you hold in, as most of us know, the harder it just comes out, and just the harder you fall, if that kind of makes sense. So my junior year is kind of when everything just caught up to me. For the first time in my life, I found myself not being the best soccer-wise, because it doesn't matter how much you immerse yourself into something. If you're not okay, it's going to catch up to you, like I keep saying, right? So this shot to my confidence affected my game. I started not playing well. I started not training as well. And that destroyed me, because you're good at something for so long, and when you're not able to do simple things that you're normally able to do, whether it's because of anxiety, confidence, it just messes with your head, and it pulls you deeper into a deeper hole, if that kind of makes sense. So that was junior year. I carried that into my senior year, and again, you have all these things going on, the PTSD from this traumatic relationship where, just if anyone's ever been in a toxic relationship or knows someone, I mean, you know how annoying it can be. You're telling them to leave the person, they're hurting you, and then they go right back to them. That's kind of where I found myself in, because like I mentioned, I was prioritizing everything except Jesus, whether it was relationships, the sport. On top of that, that trauma you carry, watching your mom get beat, and then just having to grow up and be the man for 2 sisters, not knowing what you're doing, but realizing that you're the example, and you're all the example they're gonna get. So you have that added pressure of being a man as a little boy. And then on top of that, just this continuing ongoing conflict within my family, it took its toll. And so going into my senior year, college became a more serious conversation. I had a lot of tryouts lined out college-wise, but all of them were too far away. Having a single mother, it's kind of hard to make time to go 4 hours away, 6 hours away, 7 hours away for a tryout. And kind of where the pivot was for me was I got a tryout for a more local university who is starting their soccer program for the first time in its history. And that intrigued me. At that time, there was talks of LAFC getting started, Carlos Vela helming that team. And for context, it's a world-class soccer star coming to the U.S., a place where the soccer isn't as developed, to start off a new team. And I kind of mirrored that. All right, cool, that looks cool. I went to the tryout, impressed. Didn't really think I did well until they started blowing up my coach's emails. And I asked my coach, like, hey, it's a lot of money. I don't know if I even want to play anymore. I haven't been playing well in a while. What should I do? And he gave me this piece of advice that forever changed the trajectory of my life. He said, if you're a praying man, pray on it. And I know it's not like this deep, profound, Yoda-esque advice, but it like was a bucket of cold water that had just been plunged onto me, and I felt like I just snapped out of a dream that I was in for the longest. And so I prayed for the first time in what felt like forever, like genuinely prayed, asked for guidance, asked for signs, if that kind of makes sense. And surely enough, he came through. You know, I decided, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. I've been doing things my way. You're either going to come through or you're not. I mean, if you're this all-powerful creator, show me. I challenged Jesus, and he definitely showed me. Like I said, I started seeing all these signs. I started winning all these awards for things I'd been working up until that point. Things started to feel a bit more peaceful, a little bit more joyful. But like I said, if you're not fully immersed, you still have that void. I didn't fully get that full, all right, that was the correct decision until I got to that university, and that university obviously is Arlington Baptist. So to give y'all context, the kind of, yeah, you made a right decision was the second chapel, 2019, in the chapel over here. It's a lot smaller, which is why we're here. And the pastor that day ended his sermon with this crazy heavy question that I'd never really thought about up until that point, at least not the way he brought it up. He asked, if you died right now, where would you go? And I didn't really know. I mean, I always thought I'd go to heaven because I'm a good person, but what he kind of showed us that day is it doesn't matter how many charities you donate to. It doesn't matter how many people you help. If you're not saved, you're going to hell. And that kind of sounds brutal, but it's true. And I realized, like, wow, I'd probably go to hell because of all the sins and just all the things I'd done. I mean, we all fall short. We all do things we try not to do and then do it again, if that kind of makes sense. And so that's the day I accepted Jesus into my heart. And so what that looks like is, whether it's a prayer, it's a prayer, it's a yes, I accept you, it's yes, I believe, and I'm not good enough. You're good enough, so I'm gonna lean on you, if that kind of makes sense. And from that day on, it felt like this weight had been lifted, because what you realize is you try to carry everything on your own, but you can't. It'll make you fold every time. Accepting Jesus is giving him that load and then walking through him, if that kind of makes sense. And so the perfect passage, one of my favorite passages in the Bible is from Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30. We're told by Jesus, to come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I'm living proof of that. What that basically is telling us is he's asking us to come to him. If you're going through it, if you need a father that you've never really had, if you want someone to save you because no one in your life is doing that for you, if you have this emptiness in your heart, if you're always having to act like you're okay, he's telling you, come to me. Take my yoke. A yoke is like this tool that they'd use back in the day to work, and he's telling you that his is light and that he's there right beside you, lifting it with you. And like I mentioned, what it looks like is accepting him into your heart, but that's not where it ends. It's not just a thing where you just accept him, move on with your life, you're saved. You accept him, and then you do the work. You use whatever gifts he gave you, whether it's basketball, volleyball, singing, writing, being really good at math. It doesn't matter what it is. You use the gift he gave you to spread his word. And like I mentioned, a lot of us here feel like we're drowning. A lot of us here feel like we're not okay. Some of us maybe don't have a relationship with Christ. Maybe we don't know where we'll end up when we die. Some of us do, but we've taken our eyes off of him. And it's kind of like when he walks on water. I think it was Peter. He sends his disciples out to I think it's a sea. There's a big old storm. They freak out because they see what they think it's a ghost, but it's just Jesus, and he's just walking on water. I think it's Peter who asks him, hey, if it's really you, prove it. Let me walk on water with you. And Jesus says, okay. He walks on water. And everyone's going crazy because, I mean, you're walking on water. That's a crazy, crazy thing to do. But he takes his eyes off to Jesus because he sees the storm around him, the wind, the rain. And because he took his eyes off and focused on what was going on around him, he lost sight of what was and what he was doing, and he started to drown. Asked Jesus to save him. Jesus pulls him back out and tells him, oh, ye of little faith, why did you doubt me, basically? And we do that a lot. Some of us maybe want Jesus to prove, be like, yo, like, if you're this all-loving God and there's all this evil, prove you're real. And do it. I mean, he asked us to challenge him, ask him to prove himself. Some of us, like I said, need that father figure that we don't have, need something. And I'm telling you right now, that something is Jesus. You've been led here for a reason. Some of us might think it's sports, and it might be sports, but when I first came here, I'm like, all right, I'm playing soccer, that's it. See what happens. I didn't realize all that would happen, and there's been so many beautiful moments. And like I keep saying, just because you're saved, it doesn't mean things get better, because my life hasn't been any easier. If anything, it's gotten a lot harder. I mean, I know y'all have seen that meme of, like, God gives his hardest test to his strongest warriors, and that's nothing but true, just because, I mean, I can go on and on about the many times I've hit rock bottom since I've been saved. The difference is you then have a reason to keep going, and it's easier to be resilient because you have an end goal and you have someone in your corner backing you up. I mean, I know y'all have seen that. If God's for me, who can be against me? It's true. And so, like I said, if it's just one person, that's fine. If it's nobody, I mean, it is what it is. But if there's someone here that hasn't accepted Jesus, I encourage you to do that today, not tomorrow, because you're not promised tomorrow. If you don't know what that looks like, you have so many people here that can help you, whether it's me, Pastor Mike, Dr. Key, Janie Taylor, President McDaniels, Dr. Brelevins, Ms. Smith. There's so many people, even your own friends. There's a lot of people here very knowledgeable. And kind of to close everything, like I keep saying, if you have this hole in your heart, yes, grind it out. Yes, find things that help. But what I'm telling you is, at the end of the day, you're going to fall flat if through that you're also not kind of prioritizing Jesus. And like I said, if you don't know what that looks like, reach out. There's fellowship for a reason. I can go on and on about the people that have helped me. I mean, some of them are here today, Max, Mercy, my beautiful girlfriend Tabitha, Katrina, my mom, Cece. There's so many people. And, you just have to ask. You just have to reach out and allow yourself to not be okay and allow yourself to accept the fact that you're not enough. And so the cliche here is, we're set to be world changers, but it's more than just a cliche. It's a way of life that you're kind of aiming to go for, which is why the spiritual formation is so important. It's not just there to kind of like force you to do something. It's there to change your life. And my life verse kind of perfectly encapsulates that. It's Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove whether it's that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Allow him to work into you and through you, and you will be a world changer. I know that might sound cringy, but it's true. I mean, you look at people who truly allow Jesus to work through them, and they're doing a lot crazier things than just walking on water. Thank you for your time. I'm going to close out with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, again, I just wish I reached at least one person today. I want to thank you for another beautiful day. I want to thank you for the people that listened, and even for the ones that didn't. I thank you. In your name I pray. Amen.